Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join me for this webinar. So the webinar has several goals, and we want to tell you about the improvements made to the solution for the technical assistance requests made this year. We also want to go over how to use this system. And then we want to talk about the fiscal year 2020 technical assistance call, which is coming up at the beginning of the fiscal year, so it'll start October 1st. And we want to take any questions you have. So first, I'm going to very briefly go over the primary improvements to the system, and then we'll get into how to use how to use the star and how to understand it so that it's easier to use. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So wow, there we go. So the improvements this year, the two major improvements were both made to improve the solution for technical assistance requests utility as a project management tool. So one thing that has been very important from the beginning of this system to management, in fact, to a large extent, it was created. That was one of the main reasons it was created, was to document the help that NRSS provides the field and to the regional offices provide the parks. And so it's important to management that not only do we use this tool to find out what the field is asking of us, but also to document what our response is, what we do for the field. So one of the improvements that was made this year was allowing you to use the technical assistance request to link to a data store reference from the technical assistance request. And the reason you would do this is in the course of these kind of projects, you will often have situations where you may generate a document that ends up in data store. And so this will allow somebody to come to the TAR and the technical assistance request at any point in time in the future and go and locate and open that document or file within data store. So it's another tool to document the work that has been done and the findings from that work. So I'm going to real quick go over how it works. So on the, let me open up a TAR just so you can see.
Okay, just to interrupt briefly, Julie, I see that you've got your hand raised. Did you have a question? If so, I can unmute you. Go ahead, Julie. Did you have a question? Or did you inadvertently raise your hand? Sounds like maybe it was a mistake. Okay, I'll put you back on mute. Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Sure. So this is from the Comments and Documents tab within the Technical Assistance Request. And you see down here data store references. So this is where the service is found within the Comments and Documents tab. So the first thing you have to do to use this is to find out what the reference code is. So the document is entered into the data store. It's not entered or attached to the TAR, but it is referenced from the TAR. So the first thing you need to find out is what is the reference code, because the reference code will be the link that the STAR uses to locate and open that reference within data store. So if you already know the reference code, these first two steps that I'm going to talk about are not, you don't need to do them because you already know it. But say you don't know the reference code, you want to go to data store, and when you access data store, you will see a menu option called My Content, if you've ever created any content. And the assumption is you would have put that reference in data store, so you're linking to it. So then in this case, I went ahead and used, I clicked on my references, and I discovered these particular references, and there's the code right there. So then with that code in hand, you go back to the star and you click on the Comments and Documents tab, and then you click on the Add Reference within the data store reference. And what it does is it opens up this this pop-up window, and you enter the reference code in that pop-up window, and it'll automatically pull in this metadata from data store. And so once you've done that, that link is created. The reference is still within data store, but it's accessible from your technical assistance request. So I've already entered these two data store reference links, and so I'll just go ahead. You see, you actually click on the reference code itself, you open it up, and it's opening up data store, which actually may not open today because it's down. Fortunately, the development instance of star is open, so I am able to show you something. So I don't think it's going to happen. Oh, it did. Oh, goody. Okay, here you go. So you're now in data store, even though I clicked the link from the star, but it moved us over to data store, and then these are the digital files, and you could then open them up if you wanted to. And this information will be part of the record. So that's an improvement that is really a project management tool and a documentation tool. The next is in line with that. So, park visit log. So this was actually a request from the field. The field, in the course of these projects, in order to fulfill a technical assistance request, you will often have, you'll need to do a park visit. And the park would kind of like to know when people are in the field and what they're doing and that kind of thing. So, and also it has the utility of documenting, providing more documentation for the service that you have offered to the park. So you can see that the park visit log is a new tab in the technical assistance request breakdown. So you click on the park visit log, and you can see that I have entered a few. So I'm going to go over what the procedure is real quick. Say you are going to visit the park. You would want to get this information in there, hopefully before you do it. And so actually, it might be easier or sort of more entertaining if I actually do a new park visit. So I'm going to click Add Park Visit, and this is the window that pops up. Now you can see the opening window is when is it going to be. So I'll tell them that I'm arriving tomorrow and I am leaving on Monday. Then you see TAR visiting park, or TAR staff visiting park. Now you may wonder, how does this TAR know who's visiting the park or who the options are? What the TAR does is it offers you everybody who is associated with that TAR as part of the project team. So because this particular TAR is a national capital region TAR, you have the person who is in the project the program area lead for the particular program area that is associated with the TAR, and that's Patrick Campbell. I also, in the course of putting together this TAR, put in a secondary program area, which was an NRSS program area for which Greg Eckert. And so those two folks are up there as possibilities. The third person is up there as me. So what I did for me was I assigned myself a technical lead. So you've got to be associated with the TAR within the project team in order to be up there. Say you had somebody visiting the park that didn't fit that, my recommendation, in other words, they were being pulled into the project, but they weren't actually a program area lead, just assign them technical lead, and then they'll show up. So I'll go ahead and click on myself. Then the purpose of the visit is to work hard, and the location of the visit is the south area. And then obviously you want to be a little better than I am on this. And then the staff to be notified. Now the staff to be notified is basically every single person that's associated with the TAR. That would be the region approver, that would be the park requester, that would be any of that park's park ranker. Say you wanted to notify somebody who within the park that needed to know, say law enforcement or something, that needed to know but weren't in this, you could just add them as a park ranker and they would show up. So I'll say in this case, I'm going to let Diane know. So then I save it, and then you see that there's a new one in here, and the purpose of the visit is to work hard. Now, I was talking about project team, and some of you folks might have been, what is this guy talking about? So I'm going to go to the project team tab. So you can see these three items are really the folks that were involved with the creation of the TAR. That would be the park rankers and the region approvers. You get below, this is where you start to get the folks that are on the team that are actually doing the job. First of all, you have the program area. We selected the National Capital Region Natural Resource Stewardship and Science, or Natural Resources and Science, and that is that person there is Patrick Campbell. He's the program area lead for that. Then we also we chose a secondary program area, ecological restoration, and that program area lead is Greg Eckert. So that's why those two folks were listed as people that might be visiting the park. And then you see that I added myself as a technical lead. So say you had somebody else that was getting involved in the project, and you said, well, we want to notate that they're visiting the park. You would add them as a technical lead, and then they'd show up. So I hope that makes some sense. But feel free to ask a question if it doesn't. So once again, this is a new service, and it's for the benefit of the parks, who will have some idea of who's going to be in the park, who's going to be in the field, that kind of thing. And it's also for the benefit of documenting your effort. So, those are the two major. There were some other smaller items, and I'll attend to them in the course of this demonstration. So now we're going to 4. So we are now starting the portion of the talk where I'm telling you about how to use this system, and hopefully it's less of a sort of these are the recipes and follow step A, B, and C than there's sort of an overview that would help you to understand the system. And once you understand it, then it's quite intuitive. The most important thing to keep in mind. Go ahead.
Hey Bill, we just had a question, and
sure.
before you go on much further. And Hal asked if we can add partners and contractors to the TA lead.
The TA lead, the TAR lead.
Right.
Oh, as a technical assistant, as a technical lead. So
yeah.
This is an internal system. So the only people that you can add are people that are known as NPS employees. And so that could be across, for example, it could be somebody in another directorate. It could be added as a program area lead. And certainly it could be somebody who's working as a contractor, working as a partner, but they need an NPS email. And so the answer is yes, if it fits those conditions, but no, if it was, say, a contract where you were using an outside contract and those people were not known to RPRS. And in that case, what I would recommend is use one of the narrative fields within the park visit log to say we want to add this person and potentially email the park. But certainly anybody who works for NPS, anybody who has an NPS email can be added as a technical lead.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
You're very welcome. So the thing to keep in mind when it comes to the solution for technical assistance requests is it's very, very simple program in the sense that it really has one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to manage the technical assistance request. All the services, all the elements, all the roles, all the permissions, everything all comes back to be related to the primary record and function and data of this system, which is to manage the technical assistance request. So in 2017, we really did revise the system quite a bit. And so to understand the system now, you kind of have to understand the direction we went. So in 2017, we moved the system from only supporting NRSS program areas to supporting region program areas. So now at this point, a TAR may be routed to either NRSS or a region program area. So when when the decision is being made, you go to the project team tab, which I already have open, and you would type, and you would, select NRSS region or other directorates. And the system will accept other directorates, but the reality of it is so far that it's really only a potential, because really no other directorates are actively using it. So if you click on the NRSS, you get NRSS program areas. If you click on the region, you get region program areas. Now you will note that because this is a TAR that was came from a national capital region park, the assumption is that you will only use national capital area programs. So there may come a time when one region is helping out another region. In fact, there has come a time. And if that's the case, then we can add that region. There's one region that has more of a service-wide service, and so we have just added it to other regions. But the basic assumption is that the North Capital Region will use North Capital Region program areas. So that's why you see the limited number there. So, okay, so it also supports the creation of, I already mentioned that. So you have a simplified TAR lifecycle. It used to be extremely complicated. It's a lot easier now. And the list and the lifecycle is right up here. And you could also think of lifecycle as possible statuses for this TAR. So the first lifecycle element is not yet submitted. That means that somebody has started it. They've started creating a TAR, but they have not yet submitted it for review. The second is that TAR has been submitted, and the automatic is from promoted. You see this promotion area down, promotion button. And so once they've finished entering the stuff they want to enter, they click on promote. Oops, I don't want to do that. It goes to the next, which is Park and Region Review. Park and Region Review, that's essentially the region approvers, and they're sort of gatekeepers. They make the final decision on what program area it goes to and whether it moves on. Once they make that decision and promote it, it goes to the program area review. That's the folks that are going to do the work, and they decide whether they can do the work or not. If they can't do the work, they can demote it back to Park and Region Review saying, we need more information, or we think you should use another program area, or they could withdraw it, and that would essentially send it back to not yet submitted. And then, if they can do it, they click on promote, and off it goes to accepted. And then once it's completed, you want to close it out, and that's promoting again to close it out. So also, we have eliminated a separate status for TARs depending on whether they were submitted during or outside of the technical assistance call. So for those who've been around for a while, you might remember you had a expedited status, which meant you had submitted that TAR outside of the technical assistance call period, and the assumption was it's probably an emergency, so we'll call it expedited. We don't do that anymore. All TARs are just TARs, whether they're submitted during the technical assistance call or outside of it. However, keep in mind, if you submit something outside of the technical assistance call, you're going to need to actively promote it because people aren't looking for it. So you'll probably need to actively call the region approver and say, I've just submitted this to you, and please take a look at it. And then you'll probably need to actively contact the program areas and ask them, can you do this? Now, the system will notify them by email, but essentially, it's not going to, new TARs are not going to really be on people's radars once the technical system.
Bill, we have a question.
Sure.
Can program review staff edit the TAR?
Program review staff. Okay, now, oh, you mean the program area review folks? They can edit a TAR when it's oh, actually, let me take a look at my matrix. Permissions and roles. Okay, so edit. Okay, bring it back. Edit TAR fields. So when it is, yeah, once it's accepted, the program area lead team can edit that TAR. Prior to being accepted, it is when it's still in And when it's in program area view, prior to being submitted to the program area, no, because they just don't have access to it. But once it's submitted to the program area for review, it can be edited by the program area, and once it's been accepted, it can be edited by the program area. So,
okay. Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome. Okay, so another thing is here's the request information tab. So it used to be that if you wanted to submit a TAR, you had to the park itself had to determine what program area it was going to. And the reality of it is the park may not really know. And so we now give you the option of choosing the program area, but you don't have to. And so as a sort of a substitute to help those who might, and that would be the region approvers, select that program area, you can put in a primary subject area, which is a pretty coarse but comprehensive set of possible subject areas for these TARs. And let's see. Okay, and we're already going over the facilitation of the project management, and so I am going to move on to the next slide. So, oh wow, going back to the same one. So the creation of the TAR is simplified now, and I'm going to go over what that process is real quick. So you would come, and anybody who's an NPS staff can create a TAR. So you would go into the system and you would click on the create. You notice it automatically knows who I am because this is you are credentialed to the solution for technical assistance requests by your Active Directory. So one thing to keep in mind is you have to be logged into the Active Directory in order to access the solution for technical assistance requests, which means one of two things. You're either in the office and working from, you're wired in to the network, or if you're working remotely, you're using VPN. So you would select a park, and I'm in the dev, so I can select parks without these poor parks actually getting this request. So I'll go ahead and click Acadia. You notice it automatically knows it's the Northeast region. I will type in test for webinar. You notice it automatically gives you the fiscal year you're in. At this point, when you click on this, you will then have a TAR. Up to now, you can back out and there's no TAR. So you save and edit, and you notice it automatically pops into the request information. The request information is all the information that you are going to need to provide in order for this TAR to be reviewed. In other words, it's your request. It's where you put in what you're asking for. And you will notice that it's in the not yet submitted, and you will notice there's a star next to some of these, and that means you've got to put it in. Otherwise,
hey, Bill, you might want to enlarge that screen a little bit so we can see it a little bit.
Thank you. So you can see you've got your primary subject area. So let's put in archaeology. Problem statement is we need to know more. Target expertise is archaeologist. Obviously, this is something you put more thought into than what I am, but this is because this is what folks are going to be looking at in order to discern what you need. And then what are you asking us to do? Search the site. Okay, so these are all starred. You've got to do them. Now, this is a start. It used to be no TAR should be submitted without the superintendent knowing about it and being okay with it. You're basically representing the park request, so the superintendent has a right to know it's being made and has a right to approve it. It used to be that there was a sort of convoluted procedure whereby once you'd send a request to the superintendent and they'd sign off on it, and then the TAR could be submitted, and the superintendents didn't like that. That was a pain in the neck for them. So this is a trust thing, but don't click on it unless your superintendent knows. Then the rest of these are optional, and you can see. So now down here, you'll see some of your options, and I'm going to go over these services. But if you just want to get rid of this tar, in other words, you started it and you realize, this is not a good idea, you can delete it and it's gone. Once you've actually submitted it to Park and Region Review, it's part of the record, and you don't delete it, you just withdraw it. And so say you have completed, say you say, you know what, I do know what the project team I want, what the program area, you would go to this and you would enter, and you could say, well, I think I want somebody from the region, and this is the Northeast region, so you will see Northeast region options. And, or you say, oh, it's NRSS. I think the NRSS has a program area you need. Now, I'm not going to pick a program area because I want you to see what happens when we submit it for review without picking a program area. So I'm going to submit this for review, and up comes a little box that says, hey, are you sure you don't want to pick a program area? So I think the sense is from the region approvers, it would be nice, it would be helpful to them if they knew what the park thought that they wanted as a program area, because sometimes it's just helpful. The more information they have, the better. So it's encouraging you to pick a program area, and if you know the program area, then go ahead, put it in. It's not the final say. You could be wrong, and then it might change, but you're helping out. But if you just don't know, then you skip it, and you it's been promoted to Park and Region Review. So I'm going to go back to my we'll get back to this, but I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint for now. So, and we just went over all this, so I'm not going to do it again. And so you notice at the bottom I said we're going to talk about these. So these are services that were added, I think, like in last year, but they're useful. So the first thing is delete, and it's pretty simple. Are you sure you want to delete it? And if you do, say yes. You'll notice that now that it's no longer not submitted, you don't have the option to delete. You have the option to withdraw because it is part of the record that this request was made. The second option is the print tar down here. So print tar opens up the printer-friendly report, which is essentially a report that we bundle in here to allow you to print out these tars in a nice, friendly way. Notice all these, let's go back to my tar. Oh, shucks, I think I shut down that thing. So I'll go back to this one. You notice that there's a lot of tabs, and so you'd hate to have to sort of print each tab. So that service will just allow you to print out the whole record, tar record, in an easy format. So in other words, you click on this and it just drops, oh shucks, it drops the, it pulls you into that report and gives you that option. And then the email, tar sends an email with a link to it. So if you want to send an email to somebody about this, it's another project management tool. So it's a communication tool. It will pop up the folks that are associated with. In this case, we're going back to this test tar that I created yesterday to Rock Creek Park. And so the folks that are associated with Rock Creek Park are the region reviewers for the North National Capital Region. That's Patrick, Sam, and Diane. And then I am the one who created this. These are the folks that you could automatically pick, and then of course you can add additional recipients. And as the tar goes through its life cycle, and you start to add additional folks like program area leads, regional approvers, more people will be available to. So this is just a communication tool. Okay, so next. Content is divided into 5 tabs. I think I've kind of gone over that, and you can see what they are: request information, comments, and documents. And each one of these I'll go over in a little more detail, although some of them we already have started to cover. Park visit log and history. So the one that we haven't touched on yet is history. So the history is an automated record of the tar history. It is created as you go. You don't really have any control over it. So you can see all the things that I have done with this tar right here. So it allows you to go back and say, well, what happened with this tar? Now, managers love to use tars to know what's going on, and they're extremely happy if they open up a tar and they see a lot of comments and documents and stuff that shows people are busy at work. But if there's nothing there, all they really have to go on is the history. And if they see the history and see it was accepted, like 6 months ago and hasn't been opened since, they might not be happy. So anyway, let's go to the next one. So project team assignments, and we have gone over that. So I don't think I'm going to go over it again. Basically, you are choosing your program area. You have the option of choosing secondary program area. Once you choose a program area, the program area leads will automatically drop in there because the program area leads are sort of pre-selected. And then you can add your technical leads. So let's see. Support for routing. So we've already gone over this, but what you're seeing here, this screenshot, which may be of small interest to you all, is this is the administrative functionality that I use. So when a region or park calls me up and says, we have a new program area lead, I want you to take away this one and put in this one. So say it was the Alaska region and it was Alaska air quality. So you can see these are the program area leads that have been assigned. And once they're assigned, they automatically show up on the contact us. Oops, there we go. So you'll see air quality, Paul Berger and Paul Taylor. So I'm the one that's responsible for doing this, but you contact me if you have a new program area lead, a new program area. Any new program areas, we try to have them in place before the beginning of the technical assistance call, so it's not a moving target. So in other words, this is pretty self-explanatory. So facilitate TAR management and documentation. So I'm going to go over this now because we touched on it, but I think it's a good idea to go into more detail because this is, let's get back to.
A quick question for you, Bill.
Sure.
Once again, can there be more than one secondary program area?
Yes, you can. You absolutely can. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to go welcome to TAR, and I'm going to get back to my Rock Creek Park TAR. So comments and documents. You see that there's three different elements. You've got your comments. So if I want to add a comment, I click here. Comment type can be general, or it can be from somebody, like the program area. So let's say in this case, I'm a program area person for this, and I want to say, we are confused about this, and talking to so-and-so. So this is just a record of what's going on. Or you could put in, well, actually, you would probably use the email service if you had a question, so you could directly. So now this is part of the comments. So this is a good way to document the decision process, and the sort of the road that you have taken. So I recommend this for your own good. Remember that anybody who's associated with this TAR can see it, so that they can see, decisions were made for this reason. These are some of the issues. So it's a good way to document and to communicate. Then the document. So if in the course of your work you actually do generate a document, you would want to put this here as part of the record. Or, for example, say there was a document that spoke to the issue that you are dealing with, and you wanted to make it available to your colleagues on this, you would add it. So it's a very common procedure here. You click this. Here's the pop-up window. You browse on your computer. You find something. In this case, I would take the webinar that we're looking at now and attach it to this file, but I'm not going to do that. So then finally the data store references, and we already went over that. So let's pop to the next one. So, and I just went over the history of the actions related to the TAR. That's from the history page, and that's automated. You don't really control it one way or another, except by what you do. So if you open up a TAR and you do something, you'll see that the request is updated, life cycle is set to accepted, those kind of things. This is the kind of thing that it documents, actions taken. So, okay, so multi-year TAR. Okay, so the multi-year TAR. So when this system was initially created, the assumption was these would be very finite projects that could be completed in 1 year. And the reality of it is that's not always the case. But it is a goal of the technical assistance request procedure that these things be reasonably, they're finite. In other words, say you have a monitoring project that is going to go on for 25 years. The technical assistance request may not be the appropriate venue for this. This is really more for like something that a defined task, a defined project that can be completed in a defined period of time. And so management gets irritated or disappointed or worried if they feel like a project's just being moved from year to year to year. If you get to the point where you realize this ain't going to happen, the better solution is to withdraw the TAR and not just keep moving it from fiscal year to fiscal year. If you withdraw a TAR, you can resuscitate it. You can promote it back to not yet submitted and move forward. So by withdrawing a TAR, you're not saying we will never work on this, but it's better than just, you know, we couldn't get it to this year, maybe we'll get it to next year. If you're in the third year of that, probably better to withdraw. So when you go to a new fiscal year, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how you click on this. And what it'll do is it will show you the current fiscal year. It will tell you what fiscal year you was. You only got two options, 20 and 21. No point in putting in like 1925. And then they want to know why. Why are you doing this? You know, well, we didn't have the resources. Well, the park would rather us do it next year. Just give us some information in that. So I'm not going to actually promote this, but that's what, or I'm not going to move this to fiscal year 20, but that's what you would do. So a lot of you program area leads will probably be getting an email or a call from me if you have TARs that are still in process this year, and I will recommend that you move it to the next fiscal year or close it out one way or another. And so for many of you, this might be something that you actually will be doing in a little while. So okay. So I went to that one now. TAR life cycle. So I've really gone over this, but I'm going to real quick go over it again. These are the status options. Not yet submitted. It's only accessible by the creator. They're still putting information in. The creator may promote to the park and region review, or they may delete the TAR. Park and region review. The park ranker. So the park ranker is a gatekeeper, really. It's a very important role, and the park ranker is assigned at the upper echelons of the region level, and usually a park or region will have 3 or 4 park rankers. Those are the folks. Every TAR submitted from a park in that region will go through those folks. They will look at it, they will review it, they will either confirm the assigned program area or put in a program area themselves and either promote it or not, depending on the situation. So once the region reviewer are the only people that can promote, besides the administration, can promote it to program area review. So once they have reviewed it and promoted it to program area review, the TAR will be in the hands of the program area, the primary program area. So the primary program, you can have as many secondary program areas as you want, but those folks aren't really the decision makers with this, but they are a part of the resource. So it'll actually be the primary program area that leads that will decide, yeah, we can do this, or no, we can't. If you can do it, you click accepted, or you promote it to accepted. If you can't do it, you have 2 options. You can demote it. In other words, and that would send it back to Park and Region Review. That would be a sensible thing to do if you were to say, we need more information, we can't do it, this is not enough information, we don't understand this. Or if you were to say, this looks like a great project, but we're not the people to do it, you should choose somebody else. You can withdraw it. It's just, we can't do it, we don't think anybody can do it, we're removing it. Or hopefully you'll be able to promote it to accepted, and then at that point, you have accepted this program area, and it is your responsibility to take the next step at some point in the game, which is to close it out one way or another. So, oh, and just for your information, I think I mentioned before, if something is withdrawn, it can be moved back into active consideration. So the requester, the park ranker, or region approver can promote that withdrawn TAR back into not yet submitted. So that's what I mean, like say it was a situation where we're just not going to be able to do this in the immediate future, but let's revisit it if we can. Withdraw is the appropriate status for that, because you will be able to revisit it if the time comes. Okay. I'm kind of running out of time, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. So I've already gone over this. This is essentially how do you create a TAR, and And we've already done that, and we've already done that, and we've already done. This is the information tab, and I think I've gone over, yeah, I've gone over all this stuff. So, and this is one thing to keep in mind, this is available regardless of status. So the requester can put in comments and attach files. So if the requester was putting something in, and that's something to keep in mind. If this is a fairly complicated project, it's not going to necessarily be particularly easy to fit all the information in this field. So you could attach a document that gives more information. So anybody who's associated with the TAR at any point in the TAR lifecycle can take advantage of these comments and documents service. Okay, draft to submission. This is submitting the TAR, and as I mentioned, it goes to Park and Region Review, and it's in the Region Approver's bailiwick at that point. The TAR closeout. So when you close out a TAR, and I think I may have gone over this earlier in the process. So let's see, it's accepted. So I'm going to promote it, and you'll see this promote to close. So I put in a something that I think would make your managers happy, rather than just saying we're done or something, because they may actually look at this if they're wondering what happened here. This would be like a little bit of detail, you know, this part of it was accomplished, and see the attached documents. This part is no longer needed, and see the comments from the requester who said we no longer need this. Park visit. So give them a little more than just like we're done or we withdrew it, because management, they use this to figure out what's going on, and if they don't see anything, they worry that nothing went on. So what are the roles? So this is pretty important to keep in mind that these roles are how you are associated with that TAR. It's not like your role, you know, within your division or it's how you are associated with that TAR. So any NPS user can create a TAR. Just as long as you work for NPS, you can come into the system and create a TAR. The TAR creator may edit, submit, withdraw TARs that are created. The park ranker may edit, submit, and withdraw the park TARs. Now, so the park ranker, what the task that they do is, if you had a park that had about 6 TARs that they were going to submit during the technical assistance call, knowing that the resources might not be there for all 6, they could rank those TARs and say, these are our highest priorities. But the park ranker also will be notified at park visits and has the ability to edit. So it has a wider utility than just ranking. The region approvers, these are gatekeepers. These are the folks that move the TAR to the program area for review. And then the program area lead, they're the gatekeeper for fulfillment. They go, yeah, we can do this, no, we can't. And if they say, yeah, we can do it, they're the people that are responsible for doing it. So, and so they determine if the TAR is going to be accepted, and then they, at minimum, sort of manage the process. So in other words, the primary program area potentially could do none of the work. They could assign it all to secondary program areas, but they would be the folks that would be determining at a certain point, yeah, we've done this job and we're closing this out. And the division, branch, and regional leads, these are supervisors basically of the program area leads, and so they have permissions identical to a program area lead. So if you have an NRSS program area, it has the program area leads, but it also is associated with the division chief and with the branch chief. So there are the roles. Oh, understanding how the search page works. So the search page is very powerful, and it's good to know how it works. So I'm going to go to the search page. So if you know your TAR number, you type it in there and you're good to go. You go straight to it. No problem. But say you don't know what your TAR number is, then you start to create, page operates on filters. So if I were to click search here, it would return every single TAR. It probably would freeze up because there were so many, but you could do that. So first thing you would do is, what region does this come from? You could even be more narrow and say, what park does this come from? Acadia. Now, we knew I just created one for Acadia, so right there, that's going to bring up a lot. But mine should be in there somewhere. There it is. That's for webinar. So, so you see that it didn't show anything that wasn't Acadia, but it showed everything that was Acadia. Say you wanted to further narrow down Acadia, and you were going to say, this is an NRSS program area. So the TAR was routed to NRSS program area. Or you could say the TAR is routed to a regional program. Let's do NRSS. So you search, and it shows only the program areas that are NRSS, but it still shows all Acadia. So you can see it narrows down. This is very powerful, especially if like you're a region approver or you know, associated in the region. What TARs are associated to our region program areas, or if you were NRSS and you wanted to narrow it down to the TARs routed to NRSS program areas. You obviously, as you can see, can search by secondary program area, and you can search by the problem statement, the comment. So any comment in there, you could search if you just knew so-and-so had entered a comment and in it they said this word, you could search that way. Who the requester is. So let's search by, actually, maybe I'll put incumbent. And that should pop it up. There we go. Here I am. We're going to search for all my TARs. Well, that's a lot. But you can see that the Rock Creek, that's the one I've been showing you sort of in a test basis, and Acadia is the one that I created today. So anyway, I hope that this gives you a sense of how the search functionality works. It's very powerful and very useful. So then this is basically going over what I just told you, so I'm going to skip it. And this is how I mentioned this very powerful element that TARs routed. So you'll notice it's our TARs from. So if you just click on here in Alaska region, this will give you all the TARs that came from Alaska. But if you click TARs from Alaska and routed to the region, this would only show you TARs that were both submitted from Alaska and routed to Alaska program areas. So it's good to keep in mind the difference between from and to. In terms of program, one is from the region and the other is to what program areas it go to. Let's see. Okay, so we are starting to get towards the end of this, and it's a good thing because we're running out of time. Search results. Oh, when you do a search, you can also sort by ascending and descending, and also you can, if one of these are all the columns that are available. So if you could either remove some of these columns from your view if you wanted to simplify it, or if you didn't see all those columns, you could add it. Okie dokie. Review of standard STAR reports. So we have a bunch of bundled reports in here. And I'm going to read a brief description of these reports rather than go, oh, I'm going to tell you about the services common to all reports. So when you do a report, you will see, regardless of what report it is, certain commonality, and that's up at the top. So that commonality is if it's a multi-page report, this will allow you to navigate right here through the multiple pages. If you want to run a text search within this, so let's see, I'm going to put death, oops, and then there it goes, it found death right there, Death Valley. So that'd be useful, you know, like say you were, one of these had a lot of money involved, and you could, oops, scroll over here. So you can see it, it's sort of in an Excel type, why is it not going? I don't know. You also have the ability to print or to take these TARs and, let's see, I'm trying to bring this over. Oh, here it is, good. So I don't have to look. So these are your options. You can create a PDF, you can create a Word file, you can create an Excel file. So this is common to all of your reports. Now I am running out of time and I want to take questions. So I'm going to just describe these reports. The multi-year TAR, this is where you would identify what TARs are multi-year. So if you wanted to know what TARs within your program area were multi-year, down, I'm going to go to multi-year, and you will see, you can say, I want to see a regional program area, I want to see Alaska, and I want to see whatever else, and then you would click, you would make the multi-year, you would click on the view report, and it would pop up as to what TARs are multi-year within Alaska region. So program area collaboration report. So this is not completely intuitive, so let me explain it to you. And the best way to explain it is to tell you why it was created. One of the big, as I think you've kind of discerned from my conversation, one of the big purposes for management of the Solution for Technical Systems requests is the ability to say, this is what we're doing for folks, to take credit for the work you've done. So one of the divisions realized that they were doing a lot of secondary program area stuff. They were helping out a lot, but you couldn't really do a search to say, hey, you know, as this secondary program area, or as this program area has done this for these TARs as a secondary program area. So that would, so you would click this, and you would, this is a dev instance, so it's not going to have the full data set, but you can see this just took all of NRSS within this dev instance. And these are all the, this is where the NRSS are primary, and this is where you have a secondary. So you can see the secondary is avifauna and ecological restoration. These are the secondary program areas that are participated in technical assistance leads within the NRSS program areas. So if you were like, say you were a specific division chief or branch chief to say, I want to see what my program area is, you would actually enter that there. You would say, okay, I want to know in 2019, or I want to know in all the years. And then you would go, I want to know for my division, I'm the Air Resource Division. I want to see what Air Resource has done for other folks as a secondary program area. And I even know the program area that I want to check out, or I don't. And so then you would view a report. Now, if you do 2019, you're not going to see much of anything, but if you did all, you might see something. So I'll do view report. And you can see that air quality has helped out in some as secondary. Oh, no, it has not. It's just been the primary. If it were secondary, it would have shown down here where they were secondary. So that's the purpose of that. And you can see that you can do it from the point of view of NRSS, other directorates, that needs to be changed, and you can do it from the regions. So it's a very narrow, and I've spent too much time on it, but anyway, if you want to know where you are serving as a secondary program area, these are your reports. Request printer-friendly version. This is, we've already gone over this. It helps you to print out a copy of all the information in the talk. Statistics. This is to return statistics relative to SARF submissions or to administrative unit of the. So you would go in here, and so you can see this is like fiscal year 2019 regional program areas, and you can see what they did. Now remember, this is the dev, and so this is not the real data, but so this is for statistics. Routing by regions. This report identifies TARs by who submitted the TAR, and users may routing by region, so you would get to, and oops, well, that's not helpful. It's also, and some of these mimic the functionality on the search page, but it brings it back in a format whereby you can create an Excel file or that kind of thing more easily. So there are some utility for these things. So I'm going to stop with the, because I got 5 minutes left, and I'm going to go to the fiscal year 2020 technical assistance call. So anybody who's on this call probably knows what the technical assistance call is. It's the usual, these dates aren't firm, but this is the usual procedure. So we'll, September 30th, right at the start of the new fiscal year, we'll launch it. We'll be sending out, these are all the folks that will be told, so we try to tell everybody. We have a memo coming out from Associate Director of Natural Resource Stewardship and Science. We have the guidance, and I'll be working with you all on the guidance to make sure your program area descriptions are what you want, your program area configuration is what you want, that kind of thing. You have a guidance document. We post all this stuff on the Inside NPS NRSS Associate Director page. Our goal is by the end of December 2019, the parks and regions have completed their work. So they've submitted all the TARs they're going to submit. The region approvers have promoted to program areas all the TARs they're going to do. They're going to promote the program area. And then by February 1st, all the program areas have completed their work. They decided whether they're going to accept these or not, basically. And then for the rest of the year, hopefully they're getting the work done. So one thing to keep in mind, it is best to wait till October 1st. This should be 2019, my bad, to enter the TARs for the fiscal year. Oops, obviously I didn't get to this one. 20 TAC. So the contact page is a good, if you want to consult with region approvers or technical leads, the contact page gives all that information to you. And if you need to know how to do something, the help page is a good resource. Finally, if you are creating a TAR and you want to submit it, make sure you click the submit for review button, because until you do that, you're the only person in the universe that even knows it exists. So that's it for my presentation, I think. Yeah, this is talking about the guidance materials, which I've already mentioned. So in the brief time left, are there any questions?
We do have a question, and that is going back to the search capabilities. Can you search by subject without knowing a region or a park? For example, search for prairie dogs?
Absolutely. So, because remember, this operates as a filter. So if you didn't put any region filter in, then it's just going to look at everything. So, and it operates on an and. So if you put in, region and prairie dogs, it's only going to show that region and that prairie dog. So don't put anything in. If you want a broad search, keep it simple. So in this case, let's just try it. Let's see if, I hope I spelled that right, and see if anything comes up. Yep. And you'll notice it takes it from a variety of parks, because the only filter we had, and it takes it from a variety of years. We didn't filter by fiscal year. We just put in that one query, and it queried the entire database. So any TAR that had that in the subject or in the, I think it was the topic, will show up there. So yes, the answer is yes, you can do that.
That's great. Any other questions, you can type them into the question window and we'll get them answered. And while we're waiting, I'll just mention also that we will post this PowerPoint presentation. So you'll have access to all the links and a lot of the details that Bill went through. And the actual presentation will be available in a couple venues, probably on SharePoint. We'll probably post a copy to YouTube also. So you'll be able to download it and view it pretty easily.
Margaret, I noticed there's a couple folks that looks like they have a question mark next to their name: John Dennis, Jordan Spake, and I guess that's it.
Jordan, I don't see, but I have answered John's.
Okay, cool. And Kim Greenwood? Yes, I just see a little question mark next to it. Has unanswered question.
Yep. And I don't see any other questions, and your timing's impeccable.
Wow, okay. Everybody, thank you so very much for taking the time of your day to attend this. And I'm your contact if you have any questions about the STAR. So just give me a call. I'm available from the contact us somewhere. I think right at the bottom. There we go. Oops.
All right.
This is the dev. So, okay, thanks, folks.
Thank you, Bill, and thanks everybody for attending, and I'll stop the